Hello there, my name is Richard McMunn. I'm from howtobecome.com, and during this presentation I'm going to talk to you about how to write a CV, and basically I'll provide you with some essential tips for creating what I call a winning CV. Now, a winning CV is a CV that gets you through to the next stage of the selection process. That might be an interview or an assessment centre. Now, the presentation that I'm going to give you is really simple. It's very basic. And I guarantee that if you follow these tips, then you should see that your success rate at submitting CVs increases. Now, a CV, or curriculum vitae as it is otherwise known, is basically a story of your life so far. So when you present it to an employer, he or she reading it needs to be confident that you have the potential to carry out the job that you're applying for. Now, I get lots of people contact me on a regular basis and they say, Richard, I've been submitting CVs now for ages and I don't hear anything back. It's really frustrating. I can understand how frustrating that can be. But the first thing to remember from the offset is that the vast majority of employers are not going to respond to all of the CVs that they receive. Okay, they're generally busy. Now, I'm not saying that's an excuse. I think that employees should respond to people who submit CVs, but they don't generally have the time. So have the mindset that if you don't hear anything, don't get down about it, but more importantly, try to create a CV that is going to grab the assessor's attention. Now, I've marked many CVs in the past, and I'll talk about that as I progress through this presentation. What you have to do is you have to get the employer's attention, and there's a very, very simple way that you can do that. So the presentation, as I say, is very simple, and follow these tips. There is no exact science to writing CVs. There is no right or wrong way, but I have found that this method generally works. Okay, follow these tips. First of all, very important, keep it simple. I've had lots of CVs before come through, and they're sometimes 5 or 6 pages long. Now, there is no guideline for how many pages that a CV should be, but generally I find 2 or 3 pages should be sufficient for the vast majority of jobs out there. Of course, if the job that you're applying for is extremely technical, then you may need to complete a longer CV, but generally I would say 2 or 3 pages at the most. Any CVs that I used to submit in the past were just 2 pages long. They didn't need to be any more. Okay, so keep it simple, and there is a way that you can keep your CV simple. The other area is to keep it neat, relevant and concise. Okay, so keep it neat, i.e. the person, the employer who's reading it, can actually read it. It is relevant to the job that you're applying for. This is very, very important, and it is also concise. Just to come back to this relevancy bit, the vast majority of people write one CV and they submit it to scores and scores of different employers. This is where they are going wrong. Now, it takes a little bit longer, but you should mold your CV around the job that you're applying for. The mistake I find that people make is they create their CV around themselves. Now, that sounds stupid. Why wouldn't you do that? Well, the important thing is to create your CV around the job that you're applying for, and in order to do that, you're going to need what is called a job description or person specification. Now, you can get that usually from the website that the person has advertised a job for. There will be some kind of description around the job, and I'll give you an example in a minute. That is very, very important, guys. Make sure that you mold the CV around the job that you're applying for. Obviously, check your spelling, grammar and punctuation. If I see a CV and it's got loads of spelling mistakes, then it puts me off. There's a few other tips which I would urge you to watch the full length of this presentation, because there's some other key important tips that you probably won't be aware of in relation to CVs. Number 4, this is real important. Use keywords and phrases from the person specification and the job description. Excuse me. Now, what happens, let's say I am going to advertise a job. Let's say it's for a customer service assistant. I'll write down and I'll think about the key skills and qualities that I want that person to have. I will use certain keywords like an ability to work under pressure, be able to demonstrate excellent customer service. So I'll put those in the job description, and I will be looking for those in the keywords in the CV. So when you apply for a job, try as hard as you can to get the person specification and or the job description for the role that you're applying for. Okay, a job description. Let's take a look at a sample job description. Now, as I've already mentioned, the employer will create a job description or person specification. So let's just close this down. Let's go straight up to here. Now, you see here on the right hand side, I've got here Retail Customer Service Assistant. This is a sample job description and person specification. Now, what I have done is I have highlighted certain keywords on this document. Now, I've put here, we are looking for someone who is passionate about retail, focusing on the customer and striving to understand them better than anyone, driven to achieve results through determination and commitment, committed to treating people in a fair and consistent way, willing to roll their sleeves up to get things done, determined, motivated to work in partnership with others, adaptable and flexible. The list goes on. Now, you'll see through that I have highlighted certain key areas. Now, when you get hold of the job description and the person specification, the first thing you should do is highlight keywords in that important document. So you see here that I've highlighted passionate, focusing on the customer, achieve results, treating people in a fair way, getting things done, determined, work in partnership, flexible, seeking feedback, excellent store standards, achieve target levels, deal with customers, compliance, deal with disputes, prevent shoplifters, duties of a checkout assistant, issue, exchange and refunds. Now, these are the key areas of the job, guys. So once you highlight these, the next step within your CV is to include these keywords. Okay, so include these keywords in your CV. So let's just scroll down now. Okay, now what I have done at the beginning of a CV, I always create what is called a personal statement, and it matches the requirements of the job. This, if you follow this, guys, will massively increase your chances of getting to interview and getting a response from the employer. I've used this time and time again, and it works, trust me. So copy the keywords and phrases from the job description or person specification and use them in your initial opening personal statement. So read this. I am a highly passionate and determined person who can be totally relied upon to carry out a competent and professional job. I have extensive experience of working in a customer-focused environment and always put the customer first. I understand that the customer is crucial to an organisation's success and can be relied upon to deal with customer complaints effectively whilst listening to their concerns and feedback. I am an excellent team player who genuinely believes in the importance of treating others fairly and diligently. I maintain excellent standards and always look for ways to improve my personal and professional development by seeking feedback from managers. Finally, I am a dedicated and flexible person who I believe would be a valuable asset to your team and organisation. Now, if you copy keywords and phrases from the job description into that opening statement, it will jump out subconsciously to the person who's assessing it, because they have written generally the job description and person spec, and they will have that next to them when they're assessing the CV. Okay, so that is very important, guys, and I strongly recommend that you do that. It literally takes a couple of minutes to go through a job description and then to actually copy the keywords and phrases. It's very, very important, and I would recommend that you do that. Okay, let's take a look at a sample CV. Now, this is only, okay, a couple of pages long. You can see it there. Let me just increase the size a little bit more. There we go. So this is 2 pages. It's a fictitious CV, but I just want to quickly point out the important tips, okay, of how to construct one. I'll then go back and give you those final tips, those really important ones that you should consider. So we've got the name there at the top, CV of Susan Gray. The address goes at the top. The telephone number goes there, okay, underneath. So it's the first point of contact. Now, I've said before, there is no exact science to writing a CV, but this is a simple looking CV, and you'll see here effective use of white space. It makes the CV far easier to read, and you'll see that this CV is very organised and it is simple. Okay, put the date of birth there, marital status. It's not essential, but this person has stated that they're married, and their nationality. Now, the personal statement: I'm a hard-working, conscientious and dedicated person who has developed a track record for delivering targets that are set by my superiors and can be relied upon to excel in any role given. I have a diploma in management studies and a certificate in bookkeeping / accounts. Okay, so this person then goes on and provides their educational qualifications. Put them in there, your educational qualifications. And don't just think about those kind of qualifications, think about other key areas as well. Things like experience of working in charitable organisations, any voluntary work, any health and safety qualifications also add a lot of weight to a CV. And then explain your employment history in chronological order. Okay, so work through, explain what you did in each role. So you see here, provided first line support and day-to-day administration for the operations manager. Put the key areas and try and match these to the job that you're applying for. So think about the person specification, and again try and include any keywords that you can. So this person has then gone through, put the role that person carried out, the company that they work for, and then the key achievements. And again, they've gone through and provided the details further down. And then finally, on the last page, they have put further academic achievements and interests, and then also references. Now, a lot of people say to me, should I just put references upon request? My own personal opinion of that is that I would give actual names and contact details of people who are going to give you a reference. You only need 2 people, but make sure you contact them first to get their permission. But put down reference details, okay? Because I see a lot of CVs that say references available upon request. Now that's okay, there's nothing wrong with that, but it is far stronger if you actually put down somebody's name and contact details, because that just gives me more confidence that this person is really, really good and they are what they say they are. Okay, and you'll see on this CV that we've made effective use of boldness to make it stand out. The text and the font is simple, okay, and also uses bullet points to accentuate the different phrases. Okay, now let me just quickly go back to this area. Okay, CV tips. The first thing, social media, Facebook, Twitter accounts, MySpace example. My advice with this is that if you have a Facebook account, think carefully about what you put on there, on the different posts. Now, the reason why I say this, lots of people don't lock their Facebook account, so it's basically public, and that means that anybody can go on it. Now, I'm not saying an employer will do this, but there is nothing to stop a person entering your email address into Facebook, and if you have registered Facebook with that email address, it will show up your Facebook account. Now, if it isn't locked, they will be able to see the different posts that you apply. And I can guarantee that some employers, not all, but some employers may go on your Facebook account just to see what kind of person you are, the type of posts that you put on there. So if you've put on any offensive posts or any posts that you don't want people to see, just be very careful about social media nowadays. My advice is to lock your social media Facebook account so that people can't see it apart from your direct friends. Okay? I would always add a covering letter or email when you send off your CV. I've had people apply for jobs with me before and they've just, please find attached CV. You know, I'm going to have a look at the CV, but it doesn't really inspire me. What I'd rather see or read is an email from somebody and it says, "Dear sir and madam, I wish to apply for the above post. Please find attached my CV for your pursuit. I want to state that if I'm given the opportunity to be invited to interview, then I can assure you that I believe I have the skills and attributes to carry out the role effectively. I look forward to hearing from you." And it just shows that that person has put a little bit of extra effort into applying for the job. Lots of people send out blanket CVs to loads of different jobs and then wonder why they don't get a response. And it is primarily because their CV has very little relevance to the job they're applying for. As I say to you, spend time, get the person specification and job description and use keywords and phrases from it and include it in your CV, and you will start to see success. Now, the use of fonts and borders, I see lots of CVs with loads of fancy borders, lots of different colours. My personal advice is just to use simple fonts and no borders, just black and white. The font could be like Arial, size 18, different size for the headers, make them bold, or even Times New Roman. Okay, you don't need to use fancy fonts. They won't make any difference. Okay, finally, email addresses. Have a look at your email address. Is it a standard normal email address? When you apply for a job, what does it say about you as a person? I mean, my standard email address is just Richard McMunn at howtobecome.com. That's my email address. You know, I can remember somebody applying for an office manager's job with my company once, and the email started off raunchy Sarah at, and it just puts you off, you know, when you see that. Now, I'm not being judgmental, but if I'm looking for somebody to manage my office, then I don't really want, I don't think it's very professional sending an email address with that name on it. Okay, I see lots of email addresses come through when people submit their CVs, and I think a little bit bizarre, a bit strange. Make sure your email address is professional. So that's just a brief overview of how to create a CV. Please take the time, go to my website, howtobecome.com. I've got loads of different CV products, loads of free information on how to get a job and how to pass interviews. And I also offer a CV writing skills service. I will write your CV for you if you want, based around the job description and person spec you're applying for. Thank you very, very much for watching and listening, and I wish you all the very best in your pursuit to getting the job of your dreams.